I know that how this tends to end up is with the player leaving town. That's generally how it happens. All of the tea leaves are there of, hey, these are the sort of things that happen before there is a massive fight and breakup. And I'm like, why is this happening now? It shouldn't be happening now. It's not necessary to happen now. And when I hear someone talking about how much power the coach has, I'm like, well, you don't have any control over how much power the coach has. That's not your concern. And you being worried about that, see, I'm getting mad again. I'm getting mad again because I don't want and don't need to see. This is an incredibly unnecessary part of this fight. It's hard enough to win and to get back to the Super Bowl when you're talking about improving the offensive line and all these other things, let alone getting into the owner-coach dynamics. Like, that's just a place we don't need to go, Paul.
That's fair. You know, I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to sound deep. It's going to sound like all of a sudden I have been sitting in the waters of Lake Minnetonka and meditating. Are you afraid of death?
Yeah.
Who isn't? Everyone's afraid of death. Guess what? We all die. I mean, that is a fact of life. Here's another fact of sports. These things come to an end. This will eventually come to an end. I mean, what did we learn from Bill Belichick and Tom Brady? It came to an end. What did we learn? What are we going to learn from Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers? It comes to an end. All of these things come to an end. So this is a sign that it might come to an end, maybe sooner than we would like. But it's going to end eventually, and I maybe we are getting a little paranoid that the end is now in sight as opposed to the future being this beautiful, uncharted road with Russell Wilson where you feel pretty confident in your ability to compete for championships.
I don't want it to end before they've maxed out what they can win. And I feel like the last group didn't max out what they could win, in part because some of the same behaviors at the end that I think I see now. Some of the same, the coach is outdated, the coach's style doesn't work. Those were the same sort of things that Richard Sherman and that group around him were saying toward the end of their tenure. And to hear them now come out of Russell Wilson, you're right, it will end. And I want to squeeze every single bit of juice out of this orange before it happens. I want to get the citrus reamer out and go into every nook and cranny to be able to. Maybe this metaphor is getting a little exaggerated, but you don't want to leave wins on the table, man. And if Russell Wilson were to get traded next year, you're leaving wins on the table. I very firmly believe, and at any point that the divorce happens, I would say, hey, neither side's going to end up better off.
I agree.
They're both going to be worse for the separation. And that's why you want them to stay together. There's a text here. Julio from Jersey says, it's infuriating because his camp doesn't mind burning down the relationship for their ends, and it's infuriating because the Hawks have always shown urgency in building a winner. Their timing is bizarre and anger-inducing. I think that very well summarizes what I'm feeling.
And Julio summarizes exactly how I'm feeling, too. And I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed because this is a team who trades draft picks for veterans regularly. And just the way it's coming off, it's like Russ thinks that the Seahawks aren't committed to winning when they've been a winning franchise for the last 10 years. And what he is leaking, okay, it's warranted, it's fair, but do you really need to go the route of shaming the organization? Because that's what he's doing. He's shaming them. He's like, yeah, you guys are bad at getting offensive linemen, so be better.
Be better. Be better. Is there anything more frustrating than when somebody tells you, when people tell you on Twitter, be better?
Oh, that's a lazy take. Be better. Shut up. I want to fight you now. That's how I feel every time I see that. So you're right. Yes, it is. So guess what? Everyone's going to say be better the rest of the show.
And tomorrow maybe Paul will start the show talking about how he got angry today and he feels bad about it, and I'll have to talk him down. It'll be his turn to spend 10 minutes on the psychiatrist.
I'm in a zen-like state right now, okay? I mean, I'm like, hey, man, death happens to us all. Let's go, man.
It's Danny and Gallant. Here's what to watch for before we die.